Lord knows we need them. We need those strategies for living.
As long as we're living.
Yeah, and I think I am. I think
Got
I
a
am.
pulse and you're breathing.
I think I am.
As far as I know.
Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab? Well, I hope so, and welcome. Welcome into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan, and she is psychotherapist, PLPC Lauren Leon McMillan. How you doing?
I am doing well.
Yeah. We've had a good week. It's been an interesting and busy week.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Aren't they all?
Are you
though?
living in the
Aren't
world?
they all? I mean, yeah. I mean, change. I mean, it's
the only constant.
Absolutely.
Right?
You and I were in a conversation earlier, and we got to talking about change and what happens when people change, and what about the people around us. I mean, it's like, old friends and new change. I think I need a roadmap. And sometimes it's harder than you think. There's an old saying in the 12-step community.
Yeah.
About people who want to get are getting or have gotten clean and sober. Mm-hmm. And it goes something like this. You have to change your playground, your playthings, and your playmates. And
yes.
I think that it's like that speaks well to sometimes, when we've done 180 degrees with our inner world. Yeah.
Your outer world can't help but shift to match that.
Well, yeah, but sometimes that produces a lot of drama.
Yep.
Sometimes that produces a lot of questions.
Yep.
Sometimes that produces some anger and some other.
It stirs up all kinds of
Oh,
things.
my goodness. And so I think this would be good for us to talk about today. Old friends and new growth, and we need a map. So what happens? What happens to old friends when we are growing, as we're getting healthier? How do we navigate through? Maybe even relationships that we need to leave, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
So we're going to tackle that today here on Strategies for Living and see where we go. I don't know where we're going to go.
See where the road is.
See where the road is. I don't know where we're going to go, but we'll go someplace.
I'm along for the ride, as always.
I'm glad. I'm always
too.
glad. I'm always glad to have you along for the ride. Take you for the ride any place, anytime. Folks, thank you for tuning into Strategies for Living. We appreciate you being here with us, and we appreciate our sponsors making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and Hempress Cannabis with Love, and the Shreveport Little Theater. Back in a moment. Old friends, new growth. I think I need a roadmap. That's today, here on Strategies for Living. Come back and join us.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
And welcome into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. And what happens? What happens to old friends, even family members, acquaintances, when
As we
there
grow.
is, when there's significant growth, as you get healthier, what happens to those old friendships? Some of them can be unhealthy. There was a recent article, it was just posted in Psychology Today.
Yeah.
And if you want more information about it, Dr. Josh Gressel, I think his blog name is Putting Psych Back into Psychotherapy. I like that. And so if you want more information about what we're talking about today, we're kind of jumping off of his article. We talk about this, Lauren, here on Strategies. We talk about, that really the big thing that differentiates people, right, is the level of consciousness.
Yes.
And so, LOC, level of consciousness. I mean, it can be...
Which is your level of awareness, right?
Yes. It's your level of awareness. It's about how tuned in. How tuned in am I?
First and foremost to yourself.
Absolutely.
Because it is through you that you view the world.
Right.
And,
Right.
and we call them levels of consciousness, right?
Yep.
But I really, it's the best way we have to describe them. But I also want to caution, it's not levels as in there's a hierarchy, right? Like
Right.
that one's better than the other. To me, I like to think of it as levels, more like a lever, right?
Yeah.
Like a balance point. It's
Yeah.
where you're placing your focus.
Yeah.
And as we raise or expand, I like that better, expand into consciousness, we include more perspectives we're integrating more perspectives into our own,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Do you think that would be a good way to describe that?
I do think
What would you add? Or?
Yeah. Just to be very, very simple about it.
Yes.
And I like to, I like the complex definitions. I like to dive into them. If you really want to think, there's a whole book
Yeah.
called Power versus Force, where Dr. David R. Hawkins, the late Dr. David Hawkins, proposed a map of consciousness.
Yeah.
And if you really want to think, and you can download
He's got several other books
If
that
he
dive even deeper into the levels of consciousness.
once he started in this path before he passed away, he wrote prolifically. But you can Google the map of consciousness, David R. Hawkins map of consciousness, and probably if you just Google map of consciousness, you can find. You can find a representation of it, but basically, it's layered. And you said a second ago, well, one's not, better than the other,
Right.
We are where we are, so to a degree, that's true.
Yeah.
But in another sense, and again, Dr. Hawkins, formed this map of consciousness, and it's logarithmic. In other words, he just made up the numbers.
Yeah.
But the numbers are there so you can see,
So you can scale it.
And so at the lower levels of consciousness, you've got hate, things like hate and guilt
And fear.
and fear,
And apathy.
Yeah. The dividing line, the dividing line is at around 200.
Right.
And I think, I'm going from memory here, but I think that's courage. I think that's
I think you're right.
I think that's a level of courage.
Yep.
Which then propels you up into the higher levels of consciousness. And so I totally agree with you that, okay, it's not a good, bad thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
However, we all, I would hope, want to, I think one of the purposes of our lives
Yes.
is to grow
Expand.
and expand. That's why we say often, the healthiest stance we can take is that of curious student.
And as you engage in that process, you cannot help but to change
Yes.
and to grow.
But not everybody around us, friends and family alike, they're not going to change at the same time we do.
No.
And sometimes they're not gonna appreciate, and they're not even gonna like
No, because
the changes we make.
right. Well, for several reasons. I think one common thing is that, I'm used to who you are. I got to know you who you are at this specific point, and now you're different.
Right.
Right. And you get that comment, "Oh, you've changed."
Yeah.
And I always think to myself, well, isn't that what we're supposed to do? That's what we do as humans.
One of the things that I did and still occasionally do get asked to do in the course of my work is interventions,
Right.
some intervention work.
Yes.
And, interventions are there's a science and art to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done quite a few interventions through the years. I'm recalling one from many years ago that was successful.
Mm-hmm.
We got the family together. We did the intervention. The gentleman, who was between 50 and 60, listened to everybody and said, "Yes, I'll go to treatment."
Right.
And he went to treatment, and I had spent a little time with his then wife. The marriage was not very old; it was a couple of years old or so.
Okay.
A little longer they had dated for a while and then got married, right? And so, I continued to follow after the intervention.
Mm-hmm.
And, the wife just absolutely shocked me a couple of weeks after the intervention. The guy was he was still in treatment, right? She comes in and she says, "Can you reverse what you did?" And, I said, "Well, no.
Not exactly.
What's going on?" And she says, "I don't like him now." She said, I've never known him sober.
Yeah.
And now, she said, he's still, I'm visiting him at the treatment center, and we're not spending lots of time together, obviously.
Right.
But she said, "I don't know if I'm going to like this guy when he gets out."
Yeah.
Because all I knew was I knew him, and we fell in love, we dated, and we got married, and he was never sober during that time period.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes...
because people, as we heal, and as we grow and expand in consciousness, it can place pressure on those around us to change with us.
Yeah.
Especially those in our immediate circles, like our spouses and children, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, do we have to worry about this when people go into therapy?
Yeah.
I mean, does therapy turn people into judgmental so-and-sos better than me?
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too. And I don't think so. But I do think that you have to be aware when you go down a road towards any kind of growth, including, expanding your level of consciousness. And as you become more conscious, I don't know that I'm going to say it's necessary to leave or to leave people
No.
behind. But I think that what happens is it's almost a natural occurrence.
It is. It's a natural occurrence.
That needs to be looked at. That we need to be aware of that because it can feel real rotten in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Just in the same way that, in the fall, the leaves fall from the tree.
Right.
Right? It's a natural growing and evolution. And we have to recognize and accept and appreciate life for what it is. And that is that life works and unfolds around and for us. And so what I mean by that is as you restructure your inside, know that the outsides are going to start reflecting that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And, this is not to diminish or, take away from the grief that comes with, losing or changing friends. Because I think that's one of the most, that can be one of the most rocking things because of friendship is what gets us through life a lot. And we don't talk often. We talk all the time about, divorce and relationships in terms of love and how that breakup can break your heart.
Right.
But what we don't talk about so much, and we think we need to more, is the friendship.
Yeah.
Because really, even in a love relationship,
Even
it's
in that-
often the friendship that you're mourning.
And that's back in the story that I related. She had to mourn, and the rest of the story, by the way, this was years ago, and nobody's going to know who I was talking about. But they didn't make it. That marriage did not last.
Okay.
And one of the reasons the marriage didn't last is because even though the wife participated in the very early part of treatment, she was invited, as is often the case, to continue to come to family sessions and group.
Sure.
And she took a position, and I'm not doing that. So that kind of drew a line in the sand in terms of her own growth.
Yeah.
And so
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready. And so what happened, unfortunately, that marriage ended. The rest of the story is the guy found true love, sober love.
Right.
And the rest of the story is he got married, and he's been happily married for many, 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 many years now. So,
that's a good lesson in
it's a good
itself.
lesson. Yeah. We're talking about changing. And when old friends, new growth, sometimes we need a roadmap. We're talking about that roadmap today here on Strategies for Living. Stay right where you are. We've got more to come. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. How many times do I say there is no place like Robinson Film Center?
You don't say it enough.
Well, no, I probably don't. And there is no place like the Robinson Film Center. I mean, where do you go to see current movies that you're not going to see anyplace else? Well, Robinson Film Center. Find out what's showing at robinsonfilmcenter.org. And then you've got Abby Singer's Bistro, right? Full-service bistro and bar, second floor of the Robinson.
That's what I can't get enough of.
Oh, man. So, here's what you want to do. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with LearningRx Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, LearningRx Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call LearningRx Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does LearningRx Shreveport.
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 1017 FM, 710 Keel. What happens when we grow and we go and we interact with
Our
old friends and family members even that we're not around all the time, and man, that just what's happened here? I need a roadmap. And we're talking about that today here on Strategies for Living. Glad you're with us. And here's the deal. the more a person learns about themselves, the more conscious you're going to become.
Right.
I mean, that's the deal. And not everybody is on that same page of, I got to learn more about myself,
Right.
So when you then hang out with people, all of a sudden you're hanging out with people who aren't seeing things like you now see them.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And so maybe they can't even understand the changes you've made, the choices that you're making now. And the relationship, Lauren, feels different.
Yeah. Well, because you're both different people.
Yeah. Yeah, you are different people.
Literally.
But it's not uncommon for, if you don't realize what's going on, if you're not tuned into it. And I want to get back to that G word you mentioned a few minutes ago, grief, and the importance of grieving.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I think too many times we leave that out.
Yeah.
But you ask in those, if you're not aware of what's going on, the natural question that you're going to ask is, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Right?
Right.
And I think that can be on both sides.
Yeah.
Right?
Or what's going on?
What's going on?
What's happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that can even happen, as my story illustrated, in very intimate, close relationships, because we don't stay, current.
Yeah.
We don't stay up to date.
Yeah. With
right?
what's going on.
Yeah, the story that I told about, the wife coming back in after the intervention and the guy going to treatment and getting a little treatment under his belt. She comes back in and says, can you reverse this thing? I liked him the way he was. I don't really like him now.
Right.
All right, but she didn't go to many family groups, and she had the she didn't avail herself of the opportunities
To come along with them.
along, and so it's like,
To grow
be
alongside.
careful what you ask for sometimes in terms of growing, or someone that is close to you to grow, because again, it
means growth. It means
growth.
change.
It means change.
Yeah. And most times in the healing process, what it entails is really reconnecting with parts of yourself that you have hidden away. And if these parts of yourself you had hidden away previously because of the way others had responded, that's usually how they get hidden away.
Right.
Is because, I got made fun of for this aspect of my personality, so I'm going to shut it down.
Right.
And so often part of healing is to resurrect that, to bring back and integrate all parts of you.
Right.
And so in doing so, that means, again, facing that this is who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Being true to that.
being true to that. And that's hard, because in that, as one becomes more conscious, you enter that period in between.
Yes, and that's the hardest part.
It's the old, the old world, and then I'm in a new world, or I'm walking into a new world, and there's an old word, Catholic word that I got taught when I was a little bitty boy.
Yeah.
And limbo.
Yeah.
And people think, limbo is a Catholic teaching. It's really an old nun's tale,
Right, because it was between the margins.
Yeah.
Right.
Limbo means in the margins.
I like that, but I actually prefer, chrysalis or metamorphosis.
Okay. All right.
Because I think of the butterfly. I mean, that's truly the stage you're in at that point. And you have to trust and let go of things as you let go of beliefs and programming.
Right.
And things and ideas. People often go along with that.
Yeah.
You have to let go of people and trust that you're making way for new and better things that are in alignment with what you are creating to come.
Yeah, and
And it does.
I'm not sure that you're as much letting go of people as you're letting go of the circumstances that surround certain people.
Okay.
Okay? Because there's always the chance that the other person's going to see you and then eventually respond and say, "Hey, I want some of what you got."
Sure.
You know?
Right.
But before we leave where we're talking about right now, I think that in that period, that old world and the new world, that
In
quote unquote
between.
limbo, that in between, let's understand that that is a place of great vulnerability.
It is a sacred space as well.
It is. But
Truly.
it's also a place that, that you're vulnerable to even go backwards.
Yeah.
You're vulnerable if you're not continuing to do the work moving forward. So again, let me put it into the, kind of a 12-step example, right?
Yeah.
And this is just an illustration. So you go into let's say you go into treatment, and treatment is, you get clean and sober, and it's successful, and you come out of treatment. And then you're living what we're talking about now.
Yeah, you try to
The
go back.
relationships that you had before treatment don't feel the same as,
Right.
right.
As they did
And
before.
I jump back in. I jump back into life, and I know from treatment, because they've told me about the importance of going to meetings. And a good treatment program is even going to encourage 90 meetings in 90 days when you get out of treatment, right?
Right.
So you're going to a meeting every day. But not everybody does that, right?
Right.
And so without that support system to encourage the growth to continue
And remind you of your progress.
and remind you
your
of
goals.
right, you can be so vulnerable that that's a place where relapse can occur.
Right.
And then I might say something to myself along the lines of, "Well, I went to treatment, but it didn't work." Right?
Yes.
But is that really the truth? Am I really telling myself the truth? I don't think so. But I'm back. I'm back in that place of denial, which is part of any kind of addictive process. And when we talk about this, addiction is not something that just happens with alcohol
it
and
is
drugs.
something we all face every day.
Absolutely.
I mean, if there's anything that you have in your life that you can't feel like you can't live without, I mean, for some of us, I mean, it's coffee, right?
Don't go there.
It's social media. It's
Yeah.
our phone.
Right.
Anything that I'm giving my power away that I feel like I can't say no to.
Right.
That's an area of your life where you could be addicted, and you might want to look at and try to take your power back.
Right. So back to the G word, back to the importance
Of grieving.
of grieving. Why is that so important when I am moving, when I am in that limbo state, when I'm in the in-between state? Why is it so important to do my grief work?
Well, first and foremost, because of what you just said, because if you do not, you do relapse,
Right.
right? It's a part of it. It's growth. Grief is a great transformer.
Right.
It's the part of, in that vulnerable place, allow yourself to be there
Yeah.
and to be held and
And to be supported through it.
right.
Right.
And to feel.
Yeah, consider they're called the stages of grief. I don't really like the word stages because
Right.
it implies, okay, I'm
A
through this one
linearity.
and now, but and the way that grief works is we bounce back and forth. But the 5 quote unquote stages are bargaining, denial, anger, depression, and acceptance.
Right.
Those are the 5. Well, if I'm bouncing back in between bargaining and denial, and I just throw my hands up and say, right? That combination of bargaining and denial is, I can say something like, well, it wasn't so bad after all, so let me just slide back,
Right.
And I'm not continuing to move
Push
forward and
ahead.
push forward. Yeah. And you know, that it may be surprising to hear, okay, well, wait a minute. After bargaining and denial, there's anger and depression.
Sounds
do
like
I
a
have
party.
to? Yeah, man, let me sign up for
Let's
that.
go.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's necessary. It's
It is.
necessary to move through because we have to understand that the grieving process, and it is a process, is a natural human state that goes with development. And what do I mean by that? Development from birth to death
Yes.
is change.
Right.
You know, and I don't mean to be pessimistic, but it's change means things we have to give up. How do I accept giving up being 2? How do I accept giving up being a teenager?
You throw your tantrums, darn.
How do I? Yeah. So I have to go through
Anger and
that
depression.
that anger and that sadness in order to move, hopefully, to a place of acceptance. Okay,
And
I get it, and I see that my life is richer, it's better, and I don't dislike the people. You know, I don't have to dislike or be disloyal to the people that I hung around before.
No, but first and foremost, you must be loyal to yourself
Amen.
and where you want to go.
Amen.
And in your own expansion and healing process.
Absolutely. We're talking about, you know, new growth today. And when I grow, sometimes old friendships, relationships that have always been there, they don't feel the same. I need a map. How do I navigate through this? We're talking about it today here on Strategies for Living. And we'll be back. More to come. Stay with us. You know, it's been going on for 101 years now. I'm talking about the Shreveport Little Theater. Been enriching our lives through the performing arts and education and opportunities to volunteer service guided by professional artists. They've been at it a long time. And up next, beautiful, the Carole King musical is the summer musical this year. And have you seen the 24-25 season? My goodness. Neil Simon's Brighton Beach memoirs, Steel Magnolias, It's a Wonderful Life, Doubt, I Love You, You're Perfect Now, Change, and then May We All, a new country musical. You know, you need to get your season tickets right now. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. It is American theater at its best at 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. Shreveport Little Theater. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. And welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. We're talking about, we need a map when we're getting more conscious, when
A
we're
map of
growing.
consciousness,
A map
eh?
of consciousness. There
That's
you go.
available.
But, you know, when I'm growing, and I've got friends and family members that aren't growing the same as I'm growing, it sure does feel different.
It
right?
does. And can I tell you personally, on my journey,
Yeah?
one of the biggest things I had to grieve
Yeah?
was the idea that I can't drag everyone up the mountain with me.
Yeah. 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 Not
know?
everybody is ready to leave slavery.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's an Old Testament story
Okay.
of the Israelites leaving the slavery of Egypt, right?
Right.
Now, did you know, Lauren, that in Hebrew, Egypt means narrowness?
I did not.
So you can take that tail,
Oh, buddy.
as an allegory of a movement from a narrower place
Sure.
to a place of greater freedom. And of course, in the story, we know what in the story, the Israelites get pursued, right?
Right.
By the Egyptians. And what happens? They escape. They escape across the Red Sea.
Right.
And the Red Sea has miraculously opened for them.
Whoa.
And after making it across, what happens? The sea closes back.
Yeah.
Okay? So,
Are we even catching at the sea of consciousness?
yeah.
It's a stream
Yeah.
of consciousness
Yeah.
that opens.
Yeah.
Very
So,
cool.
so in the story, it says the pursuing Egyptians were drowned. So often the focus of the story is about how the Israelites were saved by the drowning of the Egyptians. But what's also true is that the way back is now closed off for the Israelites. They can't get back.
No, because once you've expanded into consciousness,
Right.
there's no going back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can't unknow what you know.
I worked with a fella
Yeah.
that years and years ago, I worked with a fellow that one day called me and said, I'm going to be away from the office because I'm going to stop drinking. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really need to do that. And he was going to white knuckle it, right?
Okay.
He was going to try to do it without any kind of, intervention or treatment, but he knew he had to do it. And I looked at him and I said, I haven't ever seen you drunk. And he looked at me square in the eye and he said, no, David, you've never seen me sober. And as he was saying that, there was a drink in front of him. Uh-huh. And he told me, he said, if I sleep for 6 to 8 hours, he said, I got to get some vodka in me before I can get out of bed, where I'm steady to get out of bed.
Yeah.
And he said, so, it was interesting because we ended up working together for several years, and we became close friends and, coworkers, and he got real active in, some of the recovery. And I think that probably influenced me in later years to do go down some of the roads that I ended up going down. But he said he was a real, he was a guy that had an interesting comical outlook on everything. Mm-hmm. And he said, you got to be careful when you go to those when you go to 12-step to AA or something. It'll and he used a word I can't use on the radio.
Yeah.
So I'll just change it to say, it'll mess up a good drunk.
Yeah.
He said, once you go and you really listen at those meetings, you might drink again, but you're never going to drink or use
Unconsciously.
again in the same way.
Yeah.
That's what he meant when he said, it'll mess up a good drunk.
Sure. Yeah, because you can't unknow what you know.
No. So the way, it's just like the Red Sea, the way is closed, right?
Yeah.
So once we wake up and we become more conscious, we're not going to go back to sleepwalking.
No.
We're not going to go back to the way we did
Well,
before.
let's say this: you can, but
Yeah.
it won't.
It's not going to
It
feel
won't be comfortable at all.
Right. Won't
It'll
be the same.
very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like trying to squeeze back down
Yeah. Can you put the toothpaste back into the tube?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good analogy.
And so I think we're not trying. I don't want anybody to think we're trying to dissuade you
From
in
healing.
any way from growing and healing. Just the opposite.
No, it's beautiful on the side.
But you need to be aware that not everybody is going to be.
Not everybody can come with you.
No, and not
But I
everybody's
can
going to be
promise-
fired up about it.
And I can promise you this, though, okay? Not everybody is going to come with you, but you'll get to see who was worth it, who's worth knowing and getting to continue to be with the real you as you uncover the real you.
Yeah.
And those people who do appreciate the real you will come your way and support you.
And you will be a beacon.
Yes.
You may be a beacon. It may surprise you, and it may take some people longer than other people. And I hope you won't I hope none. We all need to stay away from any kind of judgment. So try as human as it is, we're going to do it, but let's just be aware of it and try to stay away from it as much as we can.
Right. Because we're all on our own journeys, and we all, just like butterflies, open and transition in our own time.
Right.
Right.
But with your acquaintances, with your friends and family members that you're close to and you love and they love you, even though there may come a time where it doesn't feel the same, your growth, your positive change, your increase in consciousness becomes like a light on a hill, like a beacon on a hill.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to.
No, it might blind some people, and that's part of the issue.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets in their eyes and they don't like it.
Not everybody's going to come along with you, but some will see.
Yes.
And some will.
Yeah.
Some may even say, hey, Lauren, tell me about how I know that you're different. Tell me about that. Tell me how you did that. Tell me how you got there.
Yeah.
And man, that can be exciting.
Absolutely.
That can fire you up, But again, another aspect, we don't have a whole lot of time to go into this, but another aspect about it with the grief thing is you're going to desperately want some people to catch it right away.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do it.
No.
So you got to be
and
ready.
that's part of the grief. You have to grieve.
That's it. That's it. You've got to be willing to,
what you expect others to do with you as well.
Yeah. Put down your expectations. And be willing to put those aside and just accept.
And life will astound you once you can get in that place.
Absolutely. So, old friends, new growth. Sometimes we need a roadmap. Yeah, and hopefully we've given some new ideas here this evening on Strategies for Living. That's some of what we're all about.
Absolutely.
Making us think, stretching us. We'll be back here on Strategies. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. What happens to, old friends when we've grown and maybe they haven't? Well, we need a map. Talking about that today here on Strategies for Living. If you want more info and you like Psychology Today, I think you can go online and Dr. Josh Gressel has a blog called Putting Psych Back into Psychotherapy. And he has an article on this that just got posted. So lots more information available to you. There's a big difference between people and their levels of consciousness. And that's just a normal part of life. And then when you become
There's a whole spectrum of us out here.
Yeah. And when you become more conscious, it's going to be necessary sometimes to leave some old acquaintances, maybe even family members behind. And, folks that are in a less conscious state. And that doesn't mean that you don't love them and care about them. And
in fact, I'd say it means you love them.
Absolutely.
You love them enough to let them go their own way.
And you love yourself.
Yes.
You know, you love yourself.
To continue your growth and your journey into yourself.
Yep.
And becoming.
Once you wake up, you don't want to go back to sleepwalking.
No, you can't.
Yeah. Well, you can. Some do, but you don't want to. And again, like I said earlier, my friend said, you'll never do it the same way. Once you've truly gotten it, once you've truly heard, it's hard to go back. Hard to get that toothpaste back into the tube, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Good things to consider here on Strategies for Living, and that's part of what we do. Help us all to think and grow and hopefully change in a very positive way. Thank you, folks, for being part of Strategies for Living yourself. And we appreciate our sponsors making it possible, the Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing and Learning RX and Empress, Cannabis with Love, and the Shreveport Little Theater. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time, right here on Strategies for Living.